This chapter wraps up the volume and really does a nice job of kind of integrating and putting a character that was once a villain, now kind of turned to be maybe an ally? I don't know.
Chapter 491 of One Piece this is. Riders that fly on fish, we shall see.
Well, that escalated quickly. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, and I'm here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-filled mermaid-ridden tale that is One Piece. Now, following the events of the last chapter, of course, we saw, two things, people, creatures, get spit out of the, that came out of the mouth of the flying, or the sea king fish rabbit thing that Luffy hit with his rifle. And obviously we were introduced to one of them as being Kami, this kissing Gurami mermaid, a beautiful young lady, a very sight to see, I suppose. And she wound up, landing on top of Sanji. And the other character was this starfish, Rastafarian-looking thing that is introduced at the beginning of this chapter and is introduced as her pet, but her teacher, Papagoo, I believe is how they pronounced it. But then when they actually did the official box thing, it just said Starfish. And he's the designer for a clothing label or whatever, and that's apparently what she wants to actually do, but her current occupation is, of course, just an employee at the octopus fritter shop with Hachi. So, anyways, so we wind up getting a little bit of background on them, and a little bit of talking this and that. She offers some octopus fritters. They say yes. She says, okay, 500 berries each, and what the hell? But anyway, really the whole point of this chapter is to kind of set things up for this next arc and where they're actually going and how they're getting there and everything else. So we wind up going and she, through a call on a snail phone, she winds up getting a call from who she thinks is Hachi. It's not actually Hachi, though. Hachi has been captured, but they do hear him a little bit over the transponder. He's been captured by the Makaro gang, which they actually show a picture of, and they look like they're all fishmen or fish-type characters. And apparently they're not strong enough to capture Hachi and beat him up on their own, but they've enlisted the help and the aid of the Flying Fish Riders. So anyway, supposedly the deal is that they have him, they've got him captured, and if she ever wants to see him again alive, she has to actually come to their hideout, which is 5 kilometers east of the Sabadi archipelago. Which obviously is a grouping of islands. That's what that means. So, but as far as the pronunciation of Sabadi, I don't know if it's Sabadi, Sabaadi, and I'm going to try to find that out as soon as possible. But if anybody has, of course, any comments or corrections with it, I always welcome those in the comments down below. I would certainly appreciate that. Nonetheless, though, we kind of know now where they're going to be going because, when she says, hey, listen, I got to get going, blah, 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 this, and I got to go save my friend Hachi, I got to take off, right away, Nami goes and thinks about it, and her ears perk up a little bit, and she says, well, hey, you know what? How about we help you out, and then in return, you can show us the way to Fishman Island, right? So she's like, oh, sure, are you sure about that? And, of course, Luffy and the gang, they're up for an adventure, so why the hell not, especially helping somebody in need, blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because then Zoro winds up kind of getting up and figuring out what's going on. He's like, oh, we're at Fishman Island yet? And he's all kind of grumpy. And he's like, oh, no, Zoro, we're going to do this and that. There's this mermaid and blah, blah, blah. And we got to go save this guy Hachin or Hachi or whatever. And Zoro's like, an octopus guy named Hachi. Not like that Arlong Pirates guy, you think, because that was the guy that obviously Zoro squared off against, in one of the bigger battles that he had, at least early on, I guess you would say, in One Piece. It was definitely pretty damn intense. Nonetheless, especially I think too because his wounds with Mihawk were opening up and everything like that while he was fighting, so he was fighting him extremely injured. And these fishmen at the time were made out to be just so much stronger than humans and everything that we could see clearly by the Arlong picking up buildings and shit. At the time, they were the big fish in the sea. Now we know that obviously things have evolved and moved past that, and now we see that they're kind of, they're kind of like throwaway almost, like small potatoes type characters, I guess you would say. Shouldn't say throwaway. But anyway, the chapter really winds up focusing on the agreement of, hey, listen, in exchange for us helping you rescue this Hachi character, you will show us how to get to Fishman Island. So then they wind up going and finding out too that this Flying Fish Rider gang, apparently it's a newer gang. There's a bunch of different gangs and criminal underworld types in this area, and I guess human trafficking is a big thing that goes on in this area. It just happens to be like the movie Taken in this particular area, whereas they capture people and then trade them on the black market. I don't know if it's just people or also different races like fishmen and things like that. Not really sure. but supposedly this gang that's Flying Fish Rider gang that is led by this character Duval, who we see at the end of the chapter and consequently the end of the volume as well. This character and his gang, I guess, have been stopping like every ship that goes through, that comes through, I guess, on the waterways there, through the archipelago or in that area, looking for someone or something. So anyway, we wind up getting to there's a point where these Flying Fish Riders go and actually come up and start. It looks like they're going to come and start dive bombing and attacking them. And we find out that these things can fly. Luffy's like, "Whoa, they can fly!" And it's like, yeah, they were called Flying Fish Riders for a reason. Apparently, though, they can flutter up out of water and be out of water flying for like 5 whole minutes, which is, I mean, that's an eternity, right? So they wind up kind of getting attacked, but not really. They wind up, they get attacked, but then what happens is that some of these Flying Fish Riders, right, the ones that help capture Hachi and the Macro Gang, realize that not only Cammy is on board, but what ship they're actually on board with, the Straw Hats. And we realize there's some kind of connection between this Duval and his gang and the Straw Hats, because the chapter as well as the volume winds up ending out then with kind of taking us to their headquarters, their secret underground lair, or whatever you want to call it, where their hideout, where the bad guys, the Flying Fish Riders, are. And a couple of these guys, well, this Macro gang, Macro winds up going to him and saying, "Hey, listen, we found Cammy. She's aboard this pirate ship, and it's none other than the Straw Hats pirate ship." And Duval, which we see at the end over here, and I'll pull up the picture, is basically just looks like a knight, like a man in the iron mask type of thing. So I have no idea what connection he has. And he just says, "That I've been searching for all this time. I will kill him, the man who destroyed my life." Now, this dude's wearing a suit of armor, so the only thing that I can assume is that it's some character that we've maybe seen before. Maybe, Captain T-Bone, for instance. He wore some armor and stuff like that. This guy looks beefier than that, but maybe in shame he covered himself up with a bigger thing of armor or something like that. Other than that, I can't really think of. I mean, certainly the Straw Hats have encountered many enemies that I guess they have crossed, so to speak, and defeated. But nothing really pops to mind that they would encounter here towards the end of the first half of the Grand Line. I'm not putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe I'm missing something, but that's how the chapter and the volume end off over here. And actually, my chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on the fact that Hachi, who was a bad guy and is now kind of being played off as like a reformed good guy, especially through the cover story? What are your thoughts on the Straw Hats now kind of being put in service to go in to actually help Hachi? There's one point where they say if it is that same guy, we wouldn't help him anyway. But I have a sinking feeling that they're going to wind up helping no matter what, mainly because, Cammy, number one, is a mermaid and a hot mermaid or whatever, so you're going to get, of course, the Sanji vote on that one all the time. It seems that Robin and Nami like her as well, that they seem to be pretty cool with her. And, the Straw Hats are very much about, they do help people that are in need, people, fish, it doesn't really matter. So, I just I wonder what your thoughts are on that, you know what I mean? I'm now having to save a once bad guy that's kind of now turned good, but they didn't see the story in the interim, so the Straw Hats don't know that he's turned good. They just have Cammy's word to take for it, Anyway, leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation. Thank you very much for watching. You come follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or other channel right now.